A sea breeze blew in from Miami Beach, bringing the smell of salt and sun-whitened sand. The sun began to sink slowly below the horizon, painting the sky pink, purple, and gold, reflecting off the ripples of the ocean. Laughter rang out by the pool as families enjoyed the warmth of the passing day. They were staying at a luxurious hotel by the sea, a place of pampering and relaxation. Sebastian stepped out of the sliding door onto the pool terrace and looked back to see if his mother-in-law Carla was following him. The day was filled with family fun, playing in the sand, waves crashing against their feet, and a long walk along the beach with shells crunching underfoot. Carla loved every minute of it, but she mentioned that her feet hurt from the day's exertion. It was a mild complaint, not calculated to get anyone's attention, but Sebastian heard it anyway. He turned and saw Carla appear in the doorway. Her blonde hair, usually styled in a coiffure, now flowed loosely over her shoulders. She looked different in the softening light, more relaxed, a little flushed from the sun. Meeting his gaze, she smiled, her expression warm and open. "Here we are," she said, crossing to him by the pool, a slight weariness in her voice. "A perfect ending to a perfect day." Sebastian gestured to the cushioned pool chair beside him. "Would you like to lounge for a while? You've worked out quite a bit in those sandals today." Carla laughed, shaking her head. "I guess I'm too old for long walks on the beach. I should have listened to my body." "You did great," he said, grinning. "No one would have guessed you hadn't been working out." He patted the table, and she sat down, taking off her sandals and sighing at finally getting some rest. "Thanks for not leaving me on the beach." "I swear, my feet are ready to file a formal protest," Carla said, smiling apologetically. Sebastian gave her a gentle nudge. "I can help with that. My hands are great for sore feet, so I've been told." She raised her eyebrows and grinned playfully. "Are you suggesting you give your mother-in-law a foot massage? You may regret it. They're terrible." "If you can handle a full day of walking, I think I can handle it," he said, in almost a whisper as the breeze kicked up around them. After a moment's hesitation, she reached out one foot toward him, and her toes touched his hand. He took her foot in his hands and began to knead it gently, feeling the tension beneath his fingers. She sighed and closed her eyes for a moment, giving herself over to the sensations. "You really do have magical hands," she murmured, resting her head back on the back of the chaise lounge. "Honestly, I can't remember the last time someone pampered me like that." "It's well deserved," he replied. "You always do so much for everyone else. You should relax once in a while." She opened her eyes, catching his gaze. In the air, filled with the scent of jasmine and sun-warmed skin, something softer hung between them, something unspoken. She said nothing, but held his gaze a moment longer than necessary before her eyes closed again. His fingers penetrated her arches, moving up to her toes, pressing with enough force to relieve the pain. He could feel her relax under his touch, her legs slowly relaxing in his hands. The night grew quieter around them, the sounds of the pool fading into the background, and the world seemed to narrow down. To the two of them, their connection was a gentle undercurrent passing under the soft breeze of the ocean breeze. "You know," she said quietly, breaking the silence, "this trip has turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I think I'd forgotten what it was like to enjoy a day like today. No obligations, no rush. Just living." He nodded, his hands still gently massaging her other leg. "It's easy to get tangled up in everything else, isn't it?" His voice softened as he added, "But sometimes it's the little things that make the biggest difference." She opened her eyes again and looked at his face, the serious expression, the gentleness of his touch. For a moment, she saw in him not just her daughter's husband, but a man who seemed to understand her better than anyone else. "You are wise, beyond your years. Do you know that?" she said, and a wistfulness flashed in her smile. "Your kindness is rare, and it's appreciated even if I don't speak of it often." He chuckled softly and shrugged. "I'm just glad I can help." "You deserve it, Carla." "Really?" She looked up at him, her eyes searching his. There was something else in them, a vulnerability she rarely showed, something she hid behind her role as mother, mother-in-law, and caretaker. In this moment, she was just a woman who needed comfort and found it in the most unexpected way. "I think we all deserve moments like this," she whispered, her voice almost lost in the soft murmur of the pool water. He nodded, his fingers still moving, but more slowly, more deliberately. There was a kind of intimacy in the silence, an understanding between them that needed no words. The warmth of the Miami evening surrounded them, the breeze gently touching their skin. Her legs slipped out of his grip and rested against his thigh, her fingers curving slightly, trailing the fabric of his shorts. She smiled at him, her eyes softening in the half-light. "Thank you, Sebastian, for everything today," she said in a voice barely above a whisper. He met her gaze, and his heart beat a little faster. He smiled weakly back at her. "Anytime, Carla." Night stretched around them, the pool lights casting a flickering glare on the surface of the water. The chatter of other families receded into the background, and it was just the two of them, surrounded by the warm Miami air and the quiet echo of the sea. The connection between them was almost tangible. It was a gentle current that neither wanted to let go of. "I think I'll go upstairs," she said after a while, her voice breaking through the silence. "But I'll remember this." She paused, her hand briefly touching his arm and her eyes stopping on his. "I hope you will, too." He watched her rise and put on her sandals, her fingers lingering on his shoulder before she turned to leave. He could still feel the warmth of her touch, the softness of her skin as she strode away across the terrace, and her figure slowly disappeared into the shadows of the hotel. Sebastian remained by the pool, the breeze ruffling his hair and his gaze fixed on the spot where she had disappeared. He took a deep breath, feeling something stirring inside him, a feeling he couldn't name but didn't want to let go of. The warmth of the evening air enveloped him, the scent of jasmine and saltwater in the air, and he let himself linger on the memories of her touch, her smile, and the intimacy that had passed between them in the soft Miami night.